Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We all know that meditation is so important. It can balance you, make you feel better, bring thoughts that weren't there originally, and just help you navigate life a little easier. Now, a lot of us have challenges finding the place to meditate, getting into the zone, even learning how to meditate. Imagine if you did that while you're on vacation. Imagine if you learned all of that while you were on a cruise. He's doing that. Fantastic idea. We're going to dig into that, a meditation cruise. And he is Dr. Roger Lavine, who is an amazing psychologist, back with us. Roger, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. Yourself?
I'm well. I love this idea of cruising the Caribbean. It almost goes against what you would normally think, because when you jump on a cruise, it's all about gaining weight, having fun, going to the buffet, having dinners and everything. Doesn't mean you can't do that on this cruise, but also meditation included. Tell us about that.
Yes, actually, it's a little different twist. A lot of the things that we do on vacation are just letting go of our coping stuff, right? Our overeating or drinking and those kinds of things. And lots of times we don't necessarily feel that great coming back. But the underlying thing driving a lot of our bad habits is stress. So what this cruise is all about is, instead of going away and gaining some weight or some hangovers, you can go and actually retrain your brain, and it's an ideal way to let go of some bad habits and gain some new ones.
Wow. So walk us through that. You're on the cruise. And by the way, it's St. Martin. That's where this cruise is centered.
It's out of St. Martin. Yes, it's the Southern Caribbean.
Okay.
More the French part.
Yep. Been there, been a while. If I remember, St. Martin has two sides, correct? The Dutch and the French side?
Correct.
And isn't that the one with the airport where I think it's on the French side where the planes come really low, like right over the beach?
Well, that I don't really know, having not been there, but I'm looking forward to going myself. So
Yeah.
the cruise is St. Martin, Nevis, Dominica, Isle of the Saints, Guadalupe, Antigua, and St. Bart's.
Ah, wow. Okay. Antigua, I was there a couple of years ago. Wonderful people. And Nevis, you said, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's where a lot of celebrities have homes as well. So this stops at all of these ports?
Correct.
Wow.
One of the advantages of having a smaller, more intimate ship is we can stop at places the big cruise ships don't. A lot of people like these clipper ships because there's only 150 passengers in there, but they're good sized ships. They're still 400 feet. And but they can get into ports that the big cruise ships don't, and much more intimate experience.
When we say it's a clipper ship, a smaller ship, I recall many years ago, I was on one. I'm trying to think of the ports. It might have been similar. It was called the Windstar. Is this connected to that?
No, it's another cruise line. It's a competitor to Windstar.
Gotcha. Okay, but really, what we're at here is very intimate experience, and talk about service on the cruise. If you only have about 170 passengers, it's basically like two crew members per per passenger. They'll take care of you. Let's put it that way, right?
It's great. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So walk us through the itinerary for a cruise like this when meditation is involved.
Well, the whole idea, of course, is to get out of the stressful environment you are in and into a much more peaceful one. And I like the clipper ships because they actually sail. And for centuries, people have been going to the sea for adventure and for nature, right?
Sure.
So it's a phenomenal experience in that regard. But we start right out the first day training the mind how to relax. Again, most of our bad habits are driven by stress and anxiety. So what we want to do is condition the relaxation. And the first evening, we start out with doing some relaxation so it doesn't take you 2 or 3 days to get into your vacation. At that point, I also, for those that want to hang in there, I also do hypnosis for relaxation. And everyone who's done that on previous meditation cruises really loves it because it's so great that very first day to shake all the travel stress, all the stress you've been experiencing and just really let go and get right into vacation that very first evening.
Wow. I never thought of that. They should do that on every cruise and every every vacation. It's almost as if like you're wiping the slate and starting fresh from that point forward.
Exactly.
Wow. So let's talk about meditation in general. For any of us, I mean, we've all heard the word, but if you haven't meditated, what are the expectations for this situation when you're on this cruise or just meditation in general?
I think there's a couple camps. There's people who've never tried it. And I guess the question there is, with a lot of people, comes down to the religious aspects. Either they feel meditation is a religious thing and they don't do religion, or they feel it's part of a religion other than the one that they have, and the one that they have, meditation doesn't take that big a role. But where we come from it on this cruise is from a neuroscience basis. So we're not going to be putting any Buddhist dogma out there or any of that good stuff. Rather, we're going to explain and have you understand how this meditation is going to actually um, help you to retrain your brain to cope with stress much better, to actually calm down and to handle stress physically better so you don't get into the sleep issues and that kind of stuff. And then for those people that have tried it, but then haven't found it to work, a lot of the problem with that is that they don't have a structure. So over the course of the cruise, the 7 days, what we'll do is we'll also lay out a structure where you'll progress from novice, where you're learning to relax, all the way through different levels of meditation so that it comes together so that you'll stick with it, right? Because if meditation isn't meditation, without a good program, it needs to build on each other. And people have trouble sitting still if they don't know how to put the structure together.
Now, when you do this on the cruise, is this a daily meditation as part of your cruise that you're part of?
Yes, it's usually scheduled in the morning and in the evenings. Every session is optional. It's scheduled around the other activities with the ship. So it's a way to either start your day or end your day and in a relaxed state.
So are you paying additional for this portion of the cruise, or this is part of the cruise?
This is actually part of the cruise.
Wow.
The cruise line is paying me to provide this, and this is actually the theme of the cruise. So you'll be with like-minded people who are interested in meditation.
Love the idea. And you sent it home. And what you just said before, that many of us, we're still frazzled by the time we get on vacation. And it takes a couple of days before you settle down and you actually enjoy where you are and kind of forget about what's going on, back home. Is it kind of the same situation here where it takes a couple of days regardless of meditation?
Well, typically, it'll take a couple days, but that's one of the reasons we do the work the evening of, is so that it'll only take a few hours.
I find it interesting that you're doing this. Of course, you have the credentials as a psychologist, but you are a boat person, right? So this is like near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely. I love sailing.
Yeah. And this, the boat actually, and obviously it has an engine on it. And they've always told me, don't call it a boat, it's a ship. Just got a flash in my mind. Somebody said, no, it's a ship. It actually sails though.
Yes. And that's the difference between Windstar and the clipper ships, is that the clipper ships are a sailboat with an auxiliary engine, and the Windstar is a motor sailor with auxiliary sails.
I never knew that. Again, it's been decades since I was on the Windstar, but memorable. And just if you want to be taken care of in terms of staff ratio to passenger, these ships are the way to go. There's no getting around it. It's just a fantastic experience.
Yeah, and I, one of the main emphasis here, talk about myself a little bit, is that, you know, I like cruising, but I don't like gaining weight.
Gotcha.
I like I like cruising, but I want to be, up in the morning to enjoy the sunrises, right? So a big focus of this in the middle of the week is how to actually start some new habits, how
Mhm.
to actually be motivated for your new habits and those kinds of things. Because we got to work on both ends of the scales. A lot of our bad habits are to cope, right? So if we lose that bad habit, what will we put in its place? And that's where we get into the motivation to do the daily meditations, to do the exercise, reading, all those other things to in lieu of, our addiction to social media or overeating or
Yeah.
any of those things that we do to try to deal with the stress.
So what does a day look like? And by that I'm asking, how much time are you devoting to the meditation, call it the metaphysical portion of the cruise, as opposed to the rest of your vacation?
Usually an hour in the morning and a half hour in the evening for those that want to come, and then the rest of the time is the usual eating and in ports and those kinds of things, and the other ship activities and music and those kinds of things. So it's not a large portion, but rather a very effective one. Just a way to get started and enjoy your day.
What do you say to somebody, Roger, who might say, I've tried meditation. I can't do it. It's just not me. I know I should, but I can't. What would you say to that?
Well, I usually find that those people, the problem is they've never trained their brain to relax. So when they've heard that meditation is relaxing, but that can be true, but is not necessarily true. So it's really foundational to be able to meditate is to be able to train your sympathetic stress system to actually calm down so you can sit still. And I've also heard, a lot of misunderstandings that, it's to clear the mind. Well, there's specific types of meditation to clear the mind, but most meditation isn't about just clearing your mind because the mind wants to think. It's just what are we going to focus on?
That said, when you're about to meditate, and I mean anybody, where should your mind go? Because I do struggle with it from time to time. I've gotten better in terms of centering myself. And even this morning, I went for a walk, and for a moment there, I felt like I was dreaming as I was just looking ahead, trying to focus on nothing but just that moment. When you work with somebody, what do you tell them to think about when they want to meditate?
Well, different meditations for different purposes. One of the things I teach people is a nice little 5 minute, 5 breath mindfulness exercise to notice their level of baseline stress. So if they're up what I consider a 5 or above on my little scale of mindfulness, what I do is I arm them with a couple good relaxation exercises. So before you get too far into it, you have to know how aroused you are, because if you're very aroused or if you're stressed already, and sometimes people wake up in the morning like a gun, then they will have trouble sitting still and doing a lot of different types of meditation. So let's assume you do that little mindfulness exercise and you say, oh, I'm relaxed enough. I can meditate. I don't have to jump into relaxation. Then the next thing probably we're going to focus on is some mindfulness to get anchored where you are in the day, get in the present moment. And if you're doing well there, then you can kind of graduate. So the thing you think about is your body sensations, my feet on the floor, the air in the room, those kinds of things. That's being present, right? And what a lot of people try to do is being meditations. In other words, instead of just being present, they just want to be, right? They don't want to have to attend to anything. Well, if you're calm enough and if you're present enough, then you can just be and do like a Zen meditation, in which case you don't have to control what you're thinking about at all. But there's a whole other family of meditations you could get into, and these are the guided meditations. If you want to develop some quality like forgiveness or compassion or
Huh.
patience, you would listen to a guided meditation and you would focus and strengthen that part of your mind that's compassionate or whatever. So it all depends on the intent of your meditation as to what you're going to be thinking about.
I didn't know that you could do a guided, excuse me, meditation for something like forgiveness or other goals. Honestly, had no idea. Wow. Wow. So you can have an intent. Um, and is it mostly guided meditations for those intents that are most effective?
Well, it's funny, a lot of people confuse meditation and hypnosis. A lot of guided meditations out there are really hypnosis. And you can kind of tell the difference between, and by the way, I love hypnosis. I do it, but I always do it cognitively. I let people know this is what we're doing. So you can tell the difference between a hypnosis and a guided meditation because in hypnosis, they suggest things that aren't necessarily real, like a chakra meditation where they'll ask you to envision the color red and this red mist going into your sacral region. Whereas a guided meditation will take something you already have and strengthen it. So, say you just have a little gratitude, right? And it doesn't come up on a daily basis, but you'd like to be more grateful. By practicing gratitude meditations, you can strengthen that little neuro tract you have for gratitude and become a very grateful person and have it as an automatic response when you're feeling slighted or less than or not having what is fair, which
Wow.
is a much more positive response than self pity.
Unbelievable. And it's been scientifically proven, if you want to Google it too, that practicing gratitude on a regular basis can change your life. Keep a gratitude journal, all of that. I try to, but I do find, I'm not doing it as much as I should, but I didn't know you could do a guided meditation for gratitude. Wow. How did I not know this, Roger? I don't know. I never knew that this existed, and this is fantastic.
And
Because
then
this,
another type of meditation is reflection, right? Say we want to set some personal goals, we want to better ourselves. Uh, you can do a reflection meditation, and that's a separate type of meditation. So, a big part of this cruise is to maybe introduce these different types of meditations. How do you go about them? What's their purpose? How do you put them all together to have a great mental health program? How do you do this in a way that you're happy and content?
this is an eye opener and a game changer, and I'm sure others will say the same. When you think about meditation, my first thought is, well, it's there to clear your mind, ground you, maybe give you some clarity on some things, but doing all this other stuff, very impactful. And now there's a goal. I think a lot of us don't meditate because we don't see the payback. What is the goal? What am I doing here? Why am I meditating? What am I getting out of this? When we look at these others where there's an intent, either for gratitude, forgiveness, or whatever it might be, you're working toward a goal. And I think that helps people like really push forward on it. Would you agree?
Well, absolutely. I think one of the things that people either question the way they were raised maybe in their 20s or 30s, or they don't. But if you ask yourself, was I really taught how to be grateful and compassionate and patient as a kid? And if I wasn't, then why would I expect to have those reactions to life? And how would I have those mental automatic responses to life if I didn't develop them myself after childhood, right? Why would I be patient? Why would I be grateful?
It releases us of any guilt. It's
Right. But without the skill, you can decide I want to be grateful, but without having trained your brain, right? You can decide you want to be compassionate, but unless you train your brain to do it, because it's more than just a mental decision, you got to have the emotions and the attitudes go along with it, right? So that's the purpose of the meditation, is to get beyond having the only tool in your arsenal to deal with life being reasoning, and have these other mind states that you can bring to different parts of your life, whether it's relationships or the job, where you'll be a much more connected person and much more content.
Who wouldn't want to be grateful? I don't think you'd find one person that would say, "No, I don't want to. I'm not grateful." No, we all are, but I feel that we can't get to the point where we regularly practice it. Like walking into a place and buying a cup of coffee and actually thinking, "I'm grateful for that cup of coffee. It makes me feel good. It's my treat. It's my little something to me in the morning." Sometimes we just take it for granted. But if we're grateful on a regular basis, and again, we weren't taught that. We don't know how to do that. Yeah, thank you. We say that. But like you said, we need to feel the emotion. And probably none of us are really taught that. Not to the degree that we need to have it.
Yeah. So how many of us, when were disappointed because we didn't get that promotion, can shift from being horribly disappointed and aggrieved to feeling grateful and good that very day?
Yeah. And because there's always something to be grateful for, if you look at it.
Well, we're wired as human beings to focus on the one thing that's wrong instead of the 99 things
Oh,
that are right. And that's what the meditation does, is retrain the brain so we automatically have a different perspective.
everybody is different. But if we were to look at meditation for gratitude, Roger, how often would you need to do a meditation to get to the point where you're practicing a decent amount of gratitude?
Well, it's one of those deals that I suggest to the folks that work with me is pick a different topic and work with it for a month or two till it becomes deeply ingrained. If I wanted to learn math tables, what would I do? I'd practice it, right? If I wanted to grow some biceps, I'd go do a few weeks of curls.
Sure.
So if you do gratitude for 4 to 5 weeks, a meditation every day, you'll lay down a baseline that from there on out, it'll just be a natural part of your day to
Yeah.
be grateful.
And it just goes back to everything is a habit. You need to practice healthy habits and just continue to do them. How do we find out about this cruise? How do we find out about even working with you, even any of these meditations or any of the things that you offer in terms of mindset, changing our mindset? How do we find you, Roger?
You find me at drlavine.com. That's DOCTORLAVINE.com.
And they can reach out to you to learn more about the cruise.
Absolutely. I'll put them in touch with my wife, Cheryl, who's actually a cruise planner, and Cheryl Lavine, and she makes all the arrangements and manages all that stuff for you.
Fantastic. What a great idea. And an hour you're going to take. Well, guess what? A lot of us will wake up and take a walk around the ship. Or if you're on a land package, you would just take a walk. Well, guess what? Meditate and change your life and get into that zone where you're truly going to appreciate your vacation and clear your mind out of the gate, right?
You'll end up with a gift for the rest of your life, some health, right? We all are dealing with the effects of stress. So,
Oh, yeah.
turn that corner, and it'll be a gift for life.
And have a great vacation.
95% of my clients stick with it.
Fantastic. Roger, always great talking with you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.